Vehicle suspension system. What do we mean by vehicle suspension system? Like, you can want to add something to what Patrick has said.
Yeah, just imagine you jumping down from a two-story building and jumping the floor. The impact you're going to feel on your legs compared to when you have maybe mattress of foam, a pile of them, maybe 9 inches, and you jump on it from the two-story building and you land on it. One will hurt you more than the other.
The bare floor.
Exactly. So, what vehicle suspension system also does, in addition to what Patrick has said, is to reduce the impact of the you know the bumps and when your vehicle is moving on the rough road on the passenger inside the vehicle. That's why when they said, okay, your shock absorbance is bad and you are moving, the way you feel it inside the vehicle is totally different when it's okay. So that's why you enter some pothole and you only feel for the vehicle, but there's no impact on your body. You understand? So, but like rightly said, it's not limited to the shock absorbers. We have a lot of components that are connected.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Taking you to my next question is that what are the components that makes up a vehicle suspension system? What are these components that makes them up?
Well, there are much. I think I can just enumerate a few of them. The tire, for example, is number one. Your your spring system is part of it. We have the leaf spring in those days. Even up till today, we still have the leaf spring for some trucks, and we have the coil spring for cars, passenger cars, and SUVs. Then we have the air spring as well, and then we have the adaptive damping system. Those are part of the shock absorber system. Then you have the stabilizer linkage, you have the stabilizer bushing, you have the stabilizer bar, you have the ball joints, you have the lower arm bushings, you have the upper arm bushings, and so on. I think TBO has a.
Okay, you want to add something to the component?
Yes, part of the suspension components also includes your engine seats. You understand? Because it pushes the effect of vibration,
The
and
engine.
so the engine seat, the gear seat, the transmission seat, okay, they are also part of it. And it was talking about the air spring suspension system the other time. You will have heard that some vehicles uses air balloon. So those balloons are also part of the suspension system. In most cases, they replace the hydraulic suspension, and in some cases they were used together in some vehicles. So most of those vehicles that now has the air balloon now have something we call suspension leveling sensor. You understand that that works on the that works based on the height of the vehicle. You understand? So that they inform your air balloon the height of the vehicle. So which we now tell, like part of this component that you are talking about, we still have the pump, compressor pump that that pumps air into the balloon. We have the valve that distributes the air. You understand? Based on what the suspension leveling sensor is telling the vehicle that this is the height of your car, this particular side of the suspension needs more air for it to be balanced. So suspension system of a vehicle has gone beyond the basic ones we know before. It has advanced depending on model and brands of vehicle.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, what are the role of a suspension system in a vehicle?
Well, just like what TBO said, it helps to absorb shock. Some of the things, the most popular components is the shock absorber. So it helps to absorb shock majorly. That's one of the major role. And secondly, it is part of the safety feature in a vehicle as well. And it's also part of the comfort feature in the vehicle. If you have a very good suspension system, you will enjoy your drive. There is a particular manufacturer, I think, permit me to mention the name, even though they are not paying us now, Toyota. Now, Toyota designed the Lexus LX 570 above, uses what they call all-terrain suspension system, where you can be driving at 150, you climb with that speed on any bump, you won't feel it. It's all terrain. It's so safe that even if you are being pursued by armed robbers, you won't be afraid that there is a pothole somewhere. Do you understand? So the suspension system actually does a lot, and you can imagine somebody driving a vehicle that has a bad shock absorber or a bad engine seats or engine mounts, as we may want to call it, and a pregnant woman, for that matter, who may not be very comfortable. Some people will even lose their pregnancy if you drive in a vehicle that has a bad suspension, because every time the vehicle enters into any pothole, it is the people inside that will absorb the shock instead of the suspension. That is just it. So the suspension, mostly, one of the major functions, it helps to absorb shock. No matter how bad the road is, if you have a very good suspension system, it absorbs the shock. You won't feel the impact of the bad road on your body system.
Tibio,
Yeah.
do you want to add something to that?
Nothing much. I've been in a car that had a bad rear shock absorber. So when the vehicle gets to like 80 or 100 kilometers per hour, the vehicle will be,
Swaying
somehow, as if dancing. Yes. And suddenly, about 2 people inside the vehicle started vomiting.
Wow.
Yes, it can be that bad.
They couldn't take the shock.
Exactly. So, and it's until we just advise the driver, don't travel more than 60 kilometers per hour, and make sure that you slow down very well when you have to enter bumps or maybe a rough road. And that was how we were able to continue our journey with, and those people.
Sometimes those are having spinal cord problem. You enter into any bump, a vehicle especially that have a weak rear shock absorber, you feel the shock on your back. Have you noticed that those rickety commercial buses that you sit at the rear and you enter into a bump, or you just, if it throws you up, and sometimes you feel it on your spine, so it is not funny
At all. All right, we're still on the program talking about vehicle suspension system. This is AutoGeek TV. We'll go for a short commercial break now, and when we come back, we'll be going through questions coming through from our social platforms. Stick around. All right, welcome back to the program. This is still AutoGeek TV, and we have been discussing vehicle suspension system. I've been enjoying myself. Tope Bukola and Patrick Alagi have been putting us through on vehicle suspension system. Don't forget that you can also join this conversation by going to our Facebook platform, which is www.facebook.com/AutoGeekNG. On Instagram is at AutoGeekNG. On Twitter is at AutoGeekNG. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is AutoGeek TV. Questions are already rolling in from our social platform, and they're quite much, so we'll have to run through them. So number one says, each time I enter into a small pothole, I hear a noise at the rear of my vehicle. I have replaced the force shock absorber, stabilizer leakage, and the bushings. I have also replaced the lower arm bushings and the ball joints. I'm still hearing the same noise. Kunle from Idiroko. Bushings.
Kunle from
Idiroko, yes.
Okay, he actually didn't tell us the kind of vehicle, and sometimes we need to know the year model, because from what he said, he has replaced virtually everything.
Everything.
Shock absorber is still hearing that
Noise, yeah.
noise at the rear. Yeah, well, it depends on the kind of noise, but I want to say that some of these vehicles, the older they become, they start having rust on the welding joints on the chassis. So sometimes you have done everything you want to do, you are still hearing that noise. I will advise you check the chassis. You know, there might be some loose on the chassis. That's one. And secondly, retighten all the bolts. And sometimes, depending on the kind of vehicle, some SUV used to have noise at the tailgate, that's the boots. You'll think is a rear shock absorber noise. You understand? You enter into bump, you hear that noise, you know, and sometimes even the door latch, the boot latch to makes a kind of noise that you would have replaced the old suspension part, and then you are still having that issue. Then I want to say that I hope when they are testing these vehicles, there are no there are nothing. I mean, there are no jacks and other things in the boots. You have to take all those things off before putting the vehicle on the road test, because sometimes when those things are in the boots, they sometimes tend to
Produce the noise.
Yes, exactly. So maybe TB will have something to say.
No, I think the major challenge here is that we don't know the brand and model of the vehicle that's in it. So that would have helped us in telling
exactly,
what
because we know exactly the type of
Yeah, so
vehicle,
you can also tweet at us back to know the kind. Move on to the second question, which is I have a Honda Accord 2010 model. Each time I try to reverse the vehicle, it vibrates. But if I put it on drive, it doesn't. What can be the cause of this? Demilade from Ajegunle.
Demilade, am I correct?
Yes, Demilade from
Alright.
Ajegunle.
Okay, when you select your reverse and you feel vibration on the body, in most cases it is the gear mounting or the exhaust that is touching the body. Now, if it's the exhaust that is touching the body, whether you select drive or reverse, you feel that touch. But when you select reverse and you feel that vibration, it is the gear mounting, the gear seats that are bad. So please take a look at your gear seats and then fix them. That's the major cause of that problem.
Okay, so check out your gear seat. All right, so I drive a 2007 LR3. Anytime I park over the night, the vehicle comes down as if there is no shock absorber in the vehicle. I have changed the 4 balloons as advised by my mechanic. The problem still persists. What should I do? Tobiloba Ige from Ibadan.
Okay, now if that is your experience, there are several things you need to check. Firstly, are you sure that your pump is good? You understand? But how do you know if your pump is good? When you start the vehicle, the pump pumps air into the suspension. At what rate does your vehicle come up when you activate that? That will tell you whether your pump is working optimally or not. If it takes time for the vehicle to come up, you know that the pump is struggling to pump air into the system. You have to also check your valve. If the valve is okay, chances are that the valve is also leaking. Then you also check all the hoses. Check all the hoses that takes air to each of the tires. Probably there's a leakage somewhere. Because if there's a leakage, the vehicle will keep coming down. You understand? So those are the things you just need to check.
Okay, sorry, can I add something?
All right, please.
Okay, I want to add that if the vehicle, just like you said, you replace all the balloons and you've done all the checks, there's no leakage and everything, you change the height sensor, probably you even diagnose the vehicle, you've done everything. If it is tilting to one side, sometimes it is the calibration. You need to recalibrate the height sensor. So if the height sensors are not calibrated, the vehicle, the suspension may be tilting to one side, even if every other thing is looking fine. So you have to consider that as well. That after checking to see that the balloons, that the air spring are okay, the valves are okay, the pump is okay, there's no leakage from anywhere, then I think recalibrating the right level sensors will probably help to solve that problem.
All right. Says, another question says, I drive a Ford Explorer 2015. Anytime I speed up to 100 kilometer and above, the steering vibrates. What can be the cause? Chinedu Okafor from Lekki.
All right, so Chinedu Okafor, you've not told us if the vibration occurs when you apply your brake or when you're just driving at that speed. But if you're just driving at the speed of 100 above 100 kilometers per hour and you feel that vibration, it is a tire related problem. So I would say you check the tires. If the tires are still in good shape, you check if the tires need to be balanced. And another thing you need to check if you need to check for the tire pressure as well. Those are the things you need to check. So it's a tire related problem. If you drive at anything above 100 kilometers per hour and you feel vibration on your steering without applying brake, then you have to check your tires.
All right.
In addition to that, at times you start from between 80 and 100, and you begin to feel that vibration, try and move faster and get to like 120. From 110 to 120, if you don't feel it again, then that tells you that your tire needs balance. You understand? But if your tire is twisted, even when you slow down, it still be shaking. You understand? But if it only happens between 80 and 100 kilometers per hour, and when you travel above that or when you travel below that speed, it doesn't do that, then your vehicle needs balancing.
Okay, so Chinedu, you might want to be sure to check your tires. Okay, so another question says, I drive a Toyota Venza 2012 model. Anytime I enter into any pothole, I hear the noise from the rear. I hear the noise from the side. I don't know where the noise is coming from. I have replaced the front shock absorber and the stabilizer linkage and the stabilizer bushing, but I still hear the same noise. What can be done? Chioma from Ikoyi.
Just like we explained that we have several components that makes up the suspension system of the vehicle. The noise could come from different places. What is the condition of your brake pads, brake calipers? Because if you look at brake pads at times, they have some guides that hold them properly inside the caliper. So if the guides are missing, because based on the quality of brake pads that have been sold in the market too, some of them doesn't even come with those kind of guides. So if they are not there, if you enter pothole, you can hear noise. At the same time, you can, I think for that particular model, there is this noise that will come from your steering rack also. You understand? Yes. Your plunger may be bad. You understand? Which people, your steering knuckle, you could hear noise from your steering knuckle. So that means your car needs a thorough assessment from a professional that knows about that brand very well. So they have to put it on road test, because it's not every suspension noise that we just change shock absorbers and go like that. So your diagnosis has to be on point.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just add to that. Yes, for that particular vehicle, it's electrical steering that the vehicle is using. Just like what CBO said, the plunger. Now, for you to know, if you're driving, if the plunger is having a play, if it's having a problem, if you enter into any little pothole, you will feel that, you hear that noise, and you feel it from the steering as well. It will be like a shock absorber noise or a linkage noise, but it's actually from that steering knuckle, that plunger. But one of the ways to know is that leave the vehicle stationary, start the engine, and turn the steering, shake the steering. You hear the noise serious. Once, without even driving, you hear that noise very audible. Once you hear it very audible, then you know that, the plunger has a problem. Another thing again I want to say in terms of replacing front shock absorber. Sometimes we know by the time when we are replacing front shock absorber, we replace with brand new in most cases, and then you only replace the shock absorber without the shock absorber pad. Sometimes the pad may be the problem causing that noise, but if you replace only the shock absorber without replacing the pad, you may still be hearing that same noise there. So I advise that you bring the pad out, inspect it, then if there's any issue with the pad, you replace the pad as well. In fact, most OE workshops now, what they do is that if you want to replace the front shock absorber, they replace it together with the pad, brand new pad, whether it is bad or not, because they don't want any, just do it together.
All right. I drive a 2012 S550 Mercedes-Benz. My front right suspension keeps going down. I was asked to change my balloons, which I did, but the problem still persists. What can be done? Durojayi Samuel from Lambe. Durojayi Samuel from Lambe.
Mercedes-Benz
S550 2012.
Okay. Yes. All right. Now, depending on the let me put it this way. What did you say he has replaced?
He said he has replaced his right suspension and it keeps
That
going
same
down.
place still going down. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I want to say that if the other areas, the other wheels are perfect, and it's only that front right that is having that problem.
And then don't forget the balloons too. He changed the balloons.
He changed the balloon, exactly. So if that is the only place having the problem, there are two things I will ask him to do. Firstly, look at the hose that is supplying the air to that balloon. Then secondly, the height sensor there. Those are the two things. Those are the only two. Check the height sensor. That could be an electrical related problem related to the height sensor. The height sensor is the suspension control module is really not getting the height, the level of the height. So it's not really leveling it. So each time you park it, the vehicle, it will just go down to access. It goes back to access, not even normal. That's why you see that it will go down. Because the suspension control module is not getting any height sensor information from that particular place. Or if the hose, and we've experienced it a couple of times, the hose is plastic. You park your vehicle for a very long time, say 6 months, and you've not driven it. Sometimes rats goes in and eats up the hoses, and before you know it, you just discover that that particular hose that is supplying air to that place, is leaking. Then another thing as well is that whoever is fixing the balloon, since you said the fixed balloon, whoever is fixing it has to be very, very experienced, because the inner thread of the air spring is plastic. So if you cross thread it, it will be leaking air. You will not even know. It might be just coming little by little. So if you pack it over time, you will see that particular area is going down. So they should inspect the height sensor, inspect the hose, that is whether there's leakage along that hose or the threads where it's been tightened to the balloon.
I think you said that place is front right.
Front right, yes.
Yeah, I've had an experience on an S-Class before. That front right, that's the same place the battery is located. Yes. And the experience I had then was that the battery was leaking.
Okay.
The electrolyte was leaking. So the electrolyte was eating the hose.
Okay.
It was damaging the hose. So we had to replace the battery, replace the hose before that problem can be solved. I think the battery is located around that same front right side.
All right, thank you very much. A lot of questions are rolling in, but this will be the last question I will be taking. And it's coming from, my 2013 Kia Sorento. When I got home last night, I noticed that my brake light was on, and it seems to drain my battery overnight. Byron Olayemi from, he didn't include where he's sending the message from, but Byron Olayemi says, it's Kia Sorento. When I got home last night, I noticed that my brake light was on and it seems to drain my battery overnight. What advice can you give to Byron?
Okay, Byron, yes. Unfortunately, if any of the lights on your vehicle is on when you've turned off your ignition and removed the key, it will definitely drain the battery. Because after, when you switch off your engine and you lock the vehicle, at the max, after 30 minutes maximum, the vehicle would have gone into what we call sleep mode. Then all the components drawing power from the battery would have shut down. Although there might still be something that is close to, like, say, maybe between 10 to 50 milliamp. That one is normal. But a single brake light bulb will take up to 300 milliamp, just a single brake light bulb. So that will cause a parasite to the battery. Now, normally, the way the brake light works is this. It has a normally open switch just behind the brake pad pedal. That's the brake pedal. When you depress the brake pedal, it closes the switch and passes current to the brake lights at the back. Now, if that brake pedal switch is bad, right, or the brake light switch is bad, the one behind the pedal, it will be closing continuously and it will be passing current down to the light at the back. That's one. Then secondly, the brake light bulb system could have been short-circuited to battery positive. Do you understand? Yeah. Should have been short-circuited to battery, because it's only when you depress the brake, that is when that circuit will close and pass the current. But if one of the wires is short-circuited to battery positive, so at every given time there will be 12 volts going to that bulb, even without applying, because the ground, which is the earth, is constant. The earth is constant. You only need power for the bulb to come on, and that is what that switch that is behind the brake pedal is doing. So, but if you have not depressed the brake pedal and that particular line is now short-circuited to a battery positive somewhere, it will be supplying power directly. So you have to check the electrical system, number one. You have to check the brake pedal switch. In most cases, I've seen this happen when you just replace your ABS module or your servo system, because you have to connect your servo to the brake pedal. In most cases, I've seen that happen. By the time they finish installing the servo system, you just discover that you depress your brake, you remove it, the brake light is still on. And in some cases, the owner will not even know. They just finish the job and he has taken off. So they should check the brake pedal switch. Sometimes you need to adjust it as well, and check the electrical system that connects the bulb. Then there are some other type of brake light bulb, the LED type. Now, if water is leaking into it, it will short circuit the LED system and the light may come up. The particular side of the brake light that water gets into, the light may come on even when you have turned off the engine. So all those things has to be looked at.
On that note, we've come to the end of the program today. I hope you've been able to get some lessons from what we have been discussing. We have actually been discussing vehicle suspension system. So in case you're just tuning in, don't worry. This video will be uploaded shortly after this live program. So you can also check it out. My name is Olarinwaju. Until next time, bye for now.